Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is me again, Seth, here with my wonderful radio voice, also known as King the Conqueror, also known as the High Evolutionary, also known as also known as the King of the Infernal Realm. Yes, sir. So, just finished Twitch stream. Was interesting. While I was streaming, I've noticed. Well, it's not while I was streaming. I've noticed these past couple of months that this person called Marina Abramovic. Of course, you guys might know her as the um, Spirit cooking lady. You know, she's an artist from I don't know where. Um, I think probably New York or something. I think she's Russian from nationality, in descent. Um, so yeah, there's this. I feel like the idea of Marina Abramovich kind of relates to um, some of the things that I've been saying lately because, like I said before, there's a lot of um, how do you say? There's a lot of people that seem to think that Marina Abramovich is a Satanist or a Luciferian, that she dabbles in Luciferian or Satanist things, which is I don't think that might be the case. The thing about her, the reason why I never talk about Marina Abramovich is because she's a artist. Um, I I don't hate the idea of spirit cooking, whatever that is. I wouldn't call it spirit cooking. I would probably call it something else. Um, but I don't hate the idea of it. The problem with Marina Abramovich is where does her art lead to? I think that might be more of the problem because I feel like Marina Abramovich might be more inclined with what people perceive or call the Illuminati, right? I this is what I think. This is my opinion. This is not I'm not talking about somebody else's opinion. This is my opinion. This is how I perceive her. Um but there's there's a double-edged sword. There's an invisible double-edged sword when we're talking about this woman and what she does. I would have I the first time I saw spirit cooking, it I was not offended by it. I mean even the pig's blood thing didn't really offend me. What I really want to know, you're not the thing is I want juicy details. That's what I want. I want juicy details. Don't talk to me about her art because art is subjective and my art is also subjective. Like people don't understand me. So I'm not going to perpetuate more misunderstandings. So, what I mean by juicy details, come at me when if you're gonna mention Marina Abramovic, I want you to mention her in gruesome details. I want to hear gruesome shit, you know. So then I can persecute her in my heart. But so far, the only thing that we can persecute her on is her art. And I don't think that's legit. Because the, the question here is Marina Abramovic a familiar, or is she a wizard? That's the question that I want answered. That's the question I want answered. When we're talking about this woman, this artist, I don't feel like it's like there's a lot of people that can be condemned for the evils that they've committed, and nobody's perfect. So you have to be pretty fucking evil to be condemned, which most of these people are. But I feel I like talking about her because there's two schools of ideas here. There's religion. There's the people that are offended by her art, which scares me. It scares me because I don't know if it's a witch hunt that I'm looking at, or I'm actually looking at a guilty person. Now, mind you, I was catching up on her earlier tonight. There is an obvious masochistic or sadist tendency, obviously. But the problem still remains. Does she believe artistically in what she's doing, or is she an actual masochist? Is she an actual sadist? And the thing is, you would think that somebody would have said something by now, unless she's really good at hiding what she does. And this is why I keep saying it's a perplexing and complexing topic. That's why I'm saying there's an invisible double-edged sword there. Because as a person that believes in abstract or unconventional structures and cultures, like the Agori, for instance, or Luciferianism, or Satanism. I mean, we are not sadists or masochists, but you can be. You could be. You see, one of the tenets of Satanism is you can do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt anybody. Now, mind you, Marina Abramovic does not consider herself as a Satanist. Does she, and that's another question, does she not consider herself a Satanist because of fear? Fear of being judged? But if she really was afraid of being judged, would she put pieces of art the way that she puts pieces of art? Because at the end of the day, it's kind of weird to use pig's blood to make a painting or to write a word on a wall and then write this weird grimoire of cooking food in a gruesome way and stuff like whatever, which is part of the act, which is almost kind of funny actually. There's a wicked sense of humor there if you're capable of seeing it. Um, where was I going with this? But if you're doing all that, saying that you're a Satanist would be the least thing that you would be afraid of at that point, right? So I'm inclined, and knowing what I know, seeing what I'm seeing about Satanists or so-called Satanists or whatever, I cannot call Marina Abramovic a Satanist. She can't call herself a Satanist. She's not. She's not. She's not because she's hurting people. That's not what I'm saying. She's not a Satanist because she doesn't. She's not trying to fit somewhere. I feel like this person is looking for answers in places that most people don't dare to look. You would think in some cases that would make her a Satanist, but it doesn't. Which is weird. It's a very it's I love it. I like this dimension. It forces me to think. It forces me to think about things that I usually wouldn't think about. Now, mind you, she could be a horrible person. She could be like a really horrible person. I'm probably talking. I might be talking about a really horrible person here. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. And this invisible double-edged sword is right there in front of me when I say these words. Right? Let me tell you an anecdote. So I draw. I like comic books, right? But I don't just like Superman comics. I like horror stuff too. I like Pit. Pit was a badass comic book about a 14-year-old that could transform into a monster and he would just shred his enemies apart. I like Spawn. Technically same shit. Man Thing, Constantine, Sandman. You know, I like dark shit too. Like the DC universe and shit like that, right? Anyway, so I used to draw a lot when I was younger. And I've noticed in my lifetime of drawing that there are some pictures that are acceptable to society, but then there's other pictures that are not acceptable to society. If I would draw a monster, people would be afraid of it. If I would draw a human, people would not be afraid of it. Why is that? Why the idea of a monster invokes such fear into humans? You see, I love Superman, but like that movie, Brightburn, right? What if Superman didn't have a good heart? What if Superman did not have a good heart and he would just run amok within this universe? Like, forget Earth, he probably like just tear through Earth like a piece of paper. So he would just be running amok in the universe, just tearing shit apart. He would be a very terrifying entity with very human-like features. And then what if the monster was actually the hero? What if the only way to stop a godlike being would be for another puny little human to have some freak accident happen to him that gives him otherworldly powers, and because of that freak disgusting accident, that would be the only way to destroy this godlike overpowered being? There's a sense of, there's a little, if you can read between the lines, there's a sense of poetry in what I said there. But I guess you need a high level of understanding to see where the poetry lies, where the poetic justice is, the unfairness of gravity, the unfairness of reality, the unfairness of being flesh and bone. The reality of the day is the only way to defeat a god would for you to access something that is forbidden to you, which will transform you. And since you are not made to be this way, it would transform you into this monster, this grotesque, obscure creature, malformed, deformed, lump of flesh. And this has barely anything to do with Marina Abramovic, but there's a connection there. There's a connection there. There's a there's a anyway. So she does consider herself spiritual though. But her art is distinct. She believes that pain and suffering can give you some sort of enlightenment. Is that her fault for thinking like, wait, no, it is not. It's not. Because all gods think the same thing. There is no culture existing on earth that doesn't respect suffering as a way to find illumination. Some Catholic cultures believe in self flagellation. Lucifer does not believe in self flagellation, but he does, he can't help you when it comes to the human condition. This is one of the reasons why some so-called magician and or magician aficionados feel cheated by Lucifer, because Lucifer will give you an enormous amount of power, but if people are jealous of you, there's nothing you can do about that. And sometimes Lucifer looks like the bad guy because of that. This is where we have TV shows like The Twilight Zone, where you there's a certain energy that people connect to Lucifer. It's not that bad. It's not that bad, but people feel cheated very easily. It's very easy to have disgruntled employees. I remember this Twilight Zone episode where there was a man and he loves to read. He would eat books like he would eat food. So one day, he ends up being, but he wears glasses, right? So one day, one of his greatest wish happened. He ended up in a library, like the biggest library you have ever seen. There was books, thousands of books everywhere, but there was no one else on the planet. It was just him and books. That was his wish. to be just surrounded by books. And when he finally got his wish, his glasses broke. So he's surrounded by the things he loves the most, but he can't enjoy it. And this is what most people determined hell to be. This gigantic dimension where the things that you love the most are in front of you, but in some form of irony, you are completely incapacitated from enjoying it. Basically, torture. Which is not the case. But he does have a little bit of that energy surrounding him, regardless. He is the king of hell. Mariana Abramovic. Of course, she's Illuminati. Of course, there is no doubt. But what scares me, like I said before, is that dangling double edged sword that no one can see, that is right in front of your eyes. This is a very big problem. This is a huge problem. It's a huge problem because of religion. I agree that something probably should be done about Mariana Abramovic. But I don't think the personality, I don't think there's anything wrong with the idea of Mariana Abramovic. The reason why I feel like Mariana Abramovic should be stopped in some shape or form is because of speculatory criminal acts. I hope that's a word, I'm not sure. But I would speculate that she's into things that are not neighborly or friendly or of good taste. But on the other hand, if we're specifically targeting her because of her art, I'm afraid to say you might find yourself alone in that battle. Not all art is of good taste. Not all art is of good taste. I think some art is an acquired taste. Some art has to be looked at and analyzed and perceived multiple times before understanding it. The idea of a Satanist, she's not a Satanist because she believes in something, some form of spirituality. Satanists are not spiritual people. Satanists don't believe in anything. They don't believe in Satan, and they do not believe in God. They're atheists. Luciferians believe in metaphysics. They believe that there is a God. They believe that there is Lucifer, and they believe that Lucifer is the light, and God is something that needs to be transfigured into something else, something better, something worthwhile. I also think that this this falls along the lines of my recent videos. Whereas she could just be an actress trying to scare you, trying to close your mind to alternate avenues. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But it is convenient that she's always hanging around those people. Like, what just came out is of some form of importance. What just came out is of some form of importance because she was seen with Rothschild, right? The grandfather Rothschild, whatever his first name is. I forgot. That died not too long ago. Apparently, the head of the Rothschild family, the current head of the Rothschild family, recently died. So now we have to figure out which one of the sons is going to take his place, or daughter. So she took a picture with him. We know that she holds spirit cooking seances, exhibitions with artists like Jay-Z and Kanye West and all those people. And then as she does her seemingly grotesque artwork, you have other people from the other end that are also doing their grotesque artwork, that proclaim themselves as Luciferian. She does not, that proclaim themselves as Satanists. She does not proclaim herself as Satanist for some reason. I feel like most of these things are just a smokescreen. I'm not gonna ruin this video by stating the obvious. I'm gonna keep this video on an artistic level. And like I said, I'm a weird person too. I have a different point of view on what is beautiful and what is not. There is what's beautiful to me might not be beautiful for somebody else. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure of it. Um, there are some grotesque things that I still find grotesque. I mean, where when I look at a horror movie, I can't watch gore horror movies. Some people love gore horror movies. I fucking hate it. I think it's brain pollution. Well, that's my opinion. I don't like violence for the sake of violence. I like violence when there's a reason for it. So I still have some leisure of morality. But when we're talking about art, the only form of human expression, the only platform where your imagination is free to run free. How free is your imagination if you have to adhere to certain norms? And in that would make you a Satanist. In that thought form. Because that line of thinking is nowhere near Christianity or Catholicism or Islamic. Do I think that it's a fair assessment? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Whether or not being a Satanist is a good or bad thing, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair for somebody to wake up, be inspired, does a thing, presents the thing, and then get treated like a horrible human being for portraying what was in his mind that day. And that's what I mean by this invisible double-edged sword. Whereas, who are you going to be with? What are you going to choose when the time comes? Are you going to be a book burner? Because that's what I call somebody that falls in that line of thinking, somebody that is ready to condemn people on their ideas. You're going to be ready. If you're ready to do that, the art, then you are ready to burn books that you consider forbidden, that you consider if a human reads it, it will poison their mind. But at the end of the day, It's your choice to poison your mind. You shouldn't. It's not a good idea, but maybe that's not really poison. Maybe it's not poison, depending on the subject, of course. There are subjects I feel like no matter what you tell me, it's still absurd. There are some subjects that I feel that are there, no matter what you say, it's still absurd. It's still inconvenient. It's still not right. But then again, there's some ideas that might seem inconvenient, that might seem impractical, that might seem immoral, but probably they're not if you take the time to understand it. There is a form of beauty in Mariana Abramovic's work. Not all of them, maybe. Some of them are more blatant images of what's going on in her mind. When I talk about, like, because I did call her masochist and a sadist. She has tendencies to, apparently, allegedly, she has tendencies of making artworks that require some form of endurance. So putting models in uncomfortable positions for long hours, that's close to torture. So that leads me to believe that she has a masochistic or sadist personality. But then again, we don't have anybody saying that she's doing anything wrong. Meaning, the artists and models that are in her work are willing models. I think. I do not know. Because anything is possible when you got money. Anything is possible when you have money. You'll be surprised the amount of things you can do when you have money. But if that's not the case, then I'm sorry to say that there is a form of beauty behind those works. Maybe not apparent to everyone, obviously, but still, it is there. Not as the image itself. The image itself is grotesque. The image itself is disgusting, of course. It's disgusting because society has shown me what is disgusting and what is not. I have grown in a society, in a civilization where we distinct identify things as ugly and beautiful. But then again, the idea of beautifying something that is seen as ugly has its own merits. It has its own virtue. It has its own grace. It has its own worthiness. It has all those things, but only if you're capable of perceiving it as an idea. It is not the image itself that is beautiful. It's the idea of the image. It's the idea of the person doing it. But this again is where the problem lies. Is she just an actress acting out a role that, fortunately or unfortunately, certain Satanists or Luciferians or weird people, period, are inclined to admire? Or is she real? Does she really believe what she believes in? Or is she just a crazy person doing crazy things? But regardless, we still have to walk on eggshells. We still need to walk on eggshells, because if we're sitting there judging the art and calling her disgusting or something like that, or anything along those lines, then I fear that as a civilization, we might fail horrendously. So, like I said, I'm not going to go further than that, because you already know what I think about spirituality and God and everything. And I don't want to rub something in your face. Pardon my language. Um, let's keep this on an artistic level for once. Just this once. And let's see where this rabbit hole goes. Because this is an important matter. She's pretty important to these people. She's very important to these people. I mean, she had a picture with a Rothschild, before he died. This is how much they value her. So, like I said, the question here is not her art. The question is she a grand wizard? Or is she an artist? Is she just a successful artist? Or is she a grand wizard? And if she's a grand wizard, do we need to worry about her? Do we need to look deeper in what she does on a regular basis? Do we need to follow her around to see where she goes? Do we need to keep an eye on her at all times? Because she could be dangerous. She could be putting other people's lives in danger. Now, mind you, I am a firm believer that if it's consensual, it's consensual. You might not like what she does in the comfort of her own home, but if she's not hurting anybody, if everybody that is involved understands what she's doing and how she's doing it. Because not all masochists or sadists are bad people. And there's a movie, I don't remember the name of the movie. It was with Jennifer Lopez and the guy that plays Kingpin, I think. And there's this scene where he's hanging from the ceiling and he's making love to himself, but his skin is strapped to a chain. Multiple chains are piercing through his skin, and while he's pierced through the skin, he's relieving himself at the same time. The reason why I'm talking about this is because at the time where that movie came out, which was early 2000s, a lot of people were very into that shit. Like, it became a craze. People were getting married suspended in the air with chains going through their bodies. This was a whole thing. People were really into that fucking shit. Like, and I think it's still going on today. But these are not bad people. Like I said, like, the people would get married like that. A man and a woman, happiest day of their lives, but they have fucking chains running through their fucking skin. But that's a case where it's consensual. That's a case of two people that live that way, and they're not trying to murder other people. They're just, that's what they do. They're just like that. They're that kind of people. They're built that way. So is she just built that way? Or is she an Illuminati freak, hell-bent on hurting innocent people? So I'm going to stop the video right there. Have a good one. Peace out.